for those who are unaware, ayahuasca is a very sacred medicine that has its roots in these very old Amazonian jungle tribes. It is an incredibly powerful psychedelic substance which grants the user the ability to look deep within their own mind to such a great extent not usually available to you. It is created via the mixing of two jungle plants in one drinkable brew, the first being the Banisteriopsis carpi vine, which contains the hamala alkaloids, and the second being the Psychotria viridis or chacruna leaves containing the very powerful N-dimethyltryptamine molecule or DMT, sometimes referred to as the spirit molecule. If orally ingested, DMT is broken down by gut enzymes and is not active, which is where the hamala alkaloids from the Banisteriopsis carpi vine come in, as they serve to inhibit these enzymes, thereby allowing DMT to become active and the extraordinary occurrence within the human mind can unfold. Our language has polluted the perception of these devices by brushing them under the umbrella of the term drugs, which, as a word, holds within it many undesirable preconceptions that are simply not true. Ayahuasca is not a drug in the Western sense. It is not a recreational substance one takes to score a great time on. There is a certain amount of dread involved in taking it, and that's not just because of the incredibly foul taste. The experience itself is quite an ordeal. Properly used, ayahuasca can open up parts of yourself not usually available to you. The ayahuasca seemed to access memories I had buried deep within me, and brought about other memories and experiences in new light. Taking a substance like ayahuasca is like looking into the clearest mirror imaginable, where you will gain a new perspective on life and see what you have never seen before, how you really are. These devices have also been labelled with the term hallucinogen, which is another rather misinformed term for the ayahuasca. A hallucination implies that with eyes open we perceive an object within our physical reality that is not actually there, so this is not correct and a common misconception. Yes, you do see and experience fantastic visions with eyes closed, but never imagining objects within the real world. One instead comes to see external reality with increased perception, increased clarity, just as the ayahuasca allows one to see internal memories and experiences in new light, as it will do also with the external reality. Psychedelic is a more fitting term for the ayahuasca, which translates to mind manifest, that which manifests within the mind. Professor Nicholas, who studied psilocybin, another DMT-containing substance, concluded that these substances created an increase in informational activity in those parts of the brain usually involved with consciousness. So what does this mean exactly? Well, we can look at consciousness as the transfer of information via neurons in the brain, and these substances such as ayahuasca work by enabling patterns of information to flow through that are not usually permitted due to the default constraints that usually operate within the human brain. Imagine, for example, a bottleneck opening within the mind and suddenly being confronted with a full wave of unrestricted information. This is why it's possible to view information from an entirely different perspective than you are used to, and is probably what is referred to when people mention the vague term higher states of consciousness. So this is ayahuasca, the substance itself, a fantastic tool to better understand one's own mind. This is how we as a rational culture would understand it. But in its native jungle environment, ayahuasca has been steeped in traditional use for hundreds, perhaps even thousands of years by native Indians who, through taking ayahuasca, believe they are accessing a different plane of reality entirely, the spirit world, so to speak. And it is through the traditional use of ayahuasca in ritual ceremony that we begin to delve into this from a more mystical point of view, and ayahuasca becomes no mere substance, but dare I say, a divine healing spirit. The translation of ayahuasca, after all, being the vine of the souls. An examination of our own ego, that which we equate with being ourselves, is commonly first on the agenda for explorers new to this. An examination of the conditioning one has picked up throughout their lifetime. religious, philosophical and political associations, fears, hopes, wants and desires, all the social conditioning you have received from culture. These will all be broken down in front of the psychedelic experience, and you will for the first time see yourself behind all these layers of your attachments. As I said before, taking ayahuasca is like looking into the clearest mirror imaginable. The ayahuasca gets under all the wiring of the conditioning that created the ego you mistook as you. Knowing this, one then often proceeds to a purgative experience. All the negative emotional baggage you've unknowingly picked up here and there and held onto all these years is purged from your very being, shed like old skin. One delves deeper into the mystical experience, encountering visual representations of spirits that seemingly seek to teach and assist. One of the earliest experiences I have of this were of spirits contacting me, claiming to be the caretakers of my heart. Being told to take better care of my health and more in tune with the spiritual side, the message coming from a spirit that was the visual representation of a part of me. Another time I could sense a great ache in the lower part of my back. I saw myself day after day giving all my creative energy to another, and it was taking its toll on me. The stress and workload of this was making my body ache under the pressure. I couldn't understand why I was doing this. Making money and working so hard to earn it, and for what end? It just didn't seem to make any sense. I learned to adopt a lightness of being to leave behind the darkness of a lot of my early ayahuasca experiences. Only by developing a light state of mind with no attachments could I generate a kind of kingdom of heaven within. I'm always surprised at how spiritual the experiences are myself. I never really thought of what I was doing as spiritual exploration. I'd always kept a bit of distance and skepticism with it, only really doing it in order to create some beautiful artwork from, as one does see and experience many beautiful things with the ayahuasca. But it seemed after each ceremony I would have to ask myself, did that really all just happen to me, or was it part of some elaborate metaphorical fantasy which I'm not supposed to take literally, only extrapolate the messages behind it to apply to my life? It's dangerous to lean too far in any one direction, but it seems the more I experience with this, the harder it is to ignore the feeling that the natives could possibly be right with this. I'd always grown up an atheist, and in as early as my second ceremony I was being shown things, almost purposefully it seemed, to question that fundamental truth. Spirit dimensions, soul companions, divine intelligence, all things I would have declared absolutely barking mad and delusional just a couple of months prior. But after a direct experience, the universe appears not only stranger than I imagined, but stranger than my ability to ever imagine, it seems. But don't get me wrong, this is far removed from any orthodox religion. What somebody taps into with the ayahuasca is both far more spiritual than atheism would admit, and far more peculiar than religion would ever allow. Psychedelics allow the user to tap into that most sacred part of ourselves without any intermediary religion or other authority, which is exactly as it should be. The spiritual state is within. It can't be given to you by any other outside source. So it really comes down to each individual to take this task upon themselves.